What if I told you that sitting in that chair right now could be slowly killing you? Not in 20 years, not next decade, right now, today. And the scariest part, even if you exercise every morning, it might not be enough to save you. Welcome back. If you're over 50 and you spend most of your day sitting, whether it's at a desk, in front of the TV, or in a car, this video could be one of the most important things you watch all year. I know that sounds dramatic, but the research doesn't lie. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk through exactly what happens inside your body when you sit for long periods of time. We're going to talk about your heart, your posture, your metabolism, and your brain. And most importantly, we're going to give you simple, practical steps you can start doing today to reverse the damage, even if you've been sitting most of your life. So if you care about your health, your independence, and the quality of your life as you get older, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you think about your everyday routine. Let me start with something that surprised even me when I first heard it. You know that feeling of satisfaction after going to the gym, taking a morning walk, or finishing a yoga class? That feeling of, I did something good for my body today. Here's the problem. That 30 or 45 minutes of exercise may not be enough to undo 8, 10, or 12 hours of sitting. Think about that for a second. This concept is called the active couch potato effect. Researchers found that people who exercise regularly, but then sit for most of the rest of the day, still show many of the same metabolic problems as people who don't exercise at all. It's not about whether you work out. It's about what you do the other 23 hours of the day. And here's where it gets personal for those of us over 50. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at bouncing back. Inflammation increases. Recovery slows. The systems that regulate blood sugar, blood pressure, and circulation all begin to work a little harder than they used to. So when we sit for long, unbroken stretches, our bodies feel it more. The damage accumulates faster, and the warning signs are often silent. Take Robert, for example. Robert is 58, lives in Ohio, goes to the gym 3 mornings a week. By all appearances, he's a healthy guy. But Robert also runs a small business and spends nearly 9 hours a day behind a desk. By the time he noticed his ankles were swelling, his blood pressure was creeping up, and his lower back was almost always stiff. The damage had already been building for years. Robert's story isn't unique. It might even sound familiar. The danger of too much sitting isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly chips away at your health 1 hour at a time. Let's talk about your heart, because this is where things get very serious very quickly, especially after 50. When you sit down, your muscles go almost completely inactive. And your largest muscles, the ones in your legs and your core, are the biggest drivers of your circulation. When those muscles stop contracting, blood starts to pool. It slows down in your legs. Your veins have to work harder to push it back up to your heart. And over time, that extra strain adds up. Here's what the science says. People who sit for more than 8 hours a day without physical breaks have a significantly higher risk of heart disease. Some studies put that number at a 147% greater risk compared to those who move regularly throughout the day. 147%. That's not a small bump. That's nearly double the risk. Now, add age into that equation. After 50, our arterial walls naturally lose some of their flexibility. Our hearts don't pump as efficiently as they did at 30. That means the already strained cardiovascular system has even less reserve to handle the effects of prolonged sitting. It doesn't stop at the heart either. When you sit for long periods, your body's ability to break down fats in your bloodstream, a process driven by an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, drops dramatically. We're talking up to a 90% reduction in activity. What that means in plain English is this: the fat that's floating in your blood after a meal isn't being cleared out the way it should be. It sticks around. And over time, that raises your cholesterol levels, raises your risk of plaque buildup in your arteries, and quietly edges you closer to a cardiac event. Blood clots are another risk. Sitting for extended periods, especially during long car rides or plane trips, dramatically increases the risk of deep vein thrombosis, or DVT. A clot that forms in the leg can travel to the lungs and become life-threatening. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't about panic. It's about awareness. Because here's the beautiful thing. Your cardiovascular system responds incredibly well to movement. Even small, consistent breaks can make a measurable difference. But we'll get to solutions in a few minutes. First, let's talk about something you can actually see and feel every single day. How's your back feeling right now? If you've been sitting for a while as you watch this video, really tune in. Is there some tension across your lower back? Maybe some tightness in your neck or shoulders? A little numbness in your hips? Those feelings aren't just discomfort, they're your body sending you signals. When we sit, especially in chairs that aren't ergonomically designed, or when we slump on the couch, our spine takes on an enormous amount of pressure. Here's something that might shock you. The pressure on your lumbar spine when you're sitting is actually greater than when you're standing. It sounds backwards, but it's true. When you sit with a rounded or forward-leaning posture, the discs between your vertebrae are being compressed and stressed. Over time, especially over years and decades, that compression contributes to disc degeneration, herniated discs, and chronic back pain. For people over 50 who may already be experiencing some natural loss of bone density and cartilage, this is especially important. But the spine isn't the only victim. When we sit all day, certain muscles get chronically shortened and tight, particularly the hip flexors, the hamstrings, and the chest muscles. Meanwhile, other muscles, especially the glutes, the core, and the upper back, become weak and underused. This muscular imbalance creates a chain reaction. It changes how you walk. It affects your balance. It can make you more susceptible to falls, which for anyone over 50 is one of the leading causes of serious injury. And there's something even more subtle happening. When our posture collapses, when we round forward, when our heads jut out toward the screen, it actually affects our breathing. The lungs don't fully expand. Oxygen intake decreases. And believe it or not, reduced oxygen to the brain is linked to mental fog, fatigue, and even low mood. This is why so many people who sit all day feel exhausted by late afternoon, even when they haven't done anything physically demanding. The body is working inefficiently. The energy drain is real. There's a reason doctors and physical therapists call prolonged sitting the new smoking. It's pervasive, it's normalized, and the damage it causes is often overlooked until it becomes a crisis. Now let's talk about something that affects tens of millions of Americans over 50, metabolism, blood sugar, and weight. After 50, our metabolism naturally slows. That's just biology. We burn fewer calories at rest. Hormonal changes, declining estrogen in women, declining testosterone in men, shift where and how our bodies store fat. And muscle mass, which is a major driver of metabolic rate, tends to decrease as we age. Sitting makes all of this worse. Dramatically worse. Here's why. Muscles are like metabolic engines. When they're active, contracting, moving, working, they consume glucose from the bloodstream. This is crucial because after you eat a meal and your blood sugar rises, active muscles help absorb that sugar and use it for fuel. But when you're sitting still, those engines shut off. Blood sugar stays elevated longer after meals. The pancreas has to produce more insulin to compensate. Over time, the cells become less responsive to insulin. This is called insulin resistance, and it's the precursor to type 2 diabetes. And here's the critical piece for those of us in the 50-plus age group: we are already at higher risk for insulin resistance. Our cells are naturally less sensitive to insulin than they were in our 30s and 40s. Prolonged sitting accelerates this decline. Several large studies have shown that for every additional hour of sitting per day, the risk of type 2 diabetes increases by up to 22%. And once diabetes sets in, it becomes the gateway to a cascade of other conditions: kidney disease, vision loss, nerve damage, cardiovascular disease. But the metabolic effects don't stop at blood sugar. When you sit for long stretches, fat metabolism slows dramatically. Your body shifts away from burning fat for fuel and towards storing it, particularly around the abdomen. Belly fat is especially dangerous because it surrounds the internal organs and drives systemic inflammation. And inflammation is at the root of almost every chronic disease: heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, arthritis, depression. The good news? Just like the cardiovascular system, the metabolic system responds beautifully and quickly to movement. You don't need a marathon. You don't need a gym membership. You need to break up your sitting regularly, intentionally. Let me show you exactly how. All right, let's get into the solutions, because this is the part that actually gives me hope. The science here is really encouraging. Even small, consistent changes can produce measurable improvements in your cardiovascular health, your metabolism, your posture, and your quality of life. And you don't have to overhaul your entire day to make it happen. Here are the most effective, research-backed strategies for breaking up sitting time, specifically for people over 50. Strategy number 1, the 30-minute rule. Set a timer on your phone, your watch, whatever works for you, to go off every 30 minutes while you're sitting. When it goes off, stand up. Walk to another room. March in place. Do 10 calf raises while you stand at the kitchen counter. It sounds simple. It is simple. And the research consistently shows that breaking sitting every 30 minutes has a significant positive impact on blood sugar levels, circulation, and energy. You don't need to walk a mile. You just need to move for 2 to 5 minutes. That's it. Strategy number 2, the sit-stand transition. If you work at a desk or watch TV for long stretches, consider making more deliberate transitions between sitting and standing. Stand during phone calls, stand during commercial breaks. If you can get a simple, affordable standing desk converter, that's even better. Standing desks have been shown to reduce back pain, improve posture, and increase overall caloric burn through the day. Strategy number 3, walk after every meal. This one is a game changer for blood sugar management. A 10-minute walk after eating, even a gentle slow walk, has been shown in multiple studies to reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by as much as 30%. For people over 50 who are at higher risk for insulin resistance, this simple habit can have profound long-term effects. It's not about losing weight. It's about giving those metabolic engines, your muscles, something to do right when your blood sugar is at its peak. Strategy number 4, build a standing morning routine. Instead of rolling out of bed and immediately sitting at the kitchen table with your coffee, try spending the first 15-20 minutes of your morning on your feet. Stretch, do some gentle movement, water your plants, prepare your coffee while standing. Starting your day in motion sets the tone for a more active day. It activates your muscles early, jumpstarts your metabolism, and reduces the cumulative sitting time by the end of the day. Strategy number 5, strength training. Even light resistance work? This might be the most powerful tool of all. Even 2-3 sessions per week of light resistance training, using weights, resistance bands, or even bodyweight exercises, builds and preserves muscle mass. More muscle mass means a higher resting metabolic rate. It means better blood sugar regulation. It means better posture support, better balance, and a dramatically reduced risk of falls. And for people over 50, the benefits of strength training are actually more pronounced than for younger populations. It is never too late to start. Strategy number 6, optimize your sitting posture. If you are going to sit, and of course you will, sit well. Keep your feet flat on the floor, hips at roughly 90 degrees, screen at eye level, shoulders back and relaxed. Use a lumbar support if needed. Good posture while sitting reduces the stress on your spine, keeps your breathing more efficient, and reduces the muscle fatigue that leads to that late afternoon exhaustion. Strategy number 7, stay hydrated and let nature break up your sitting. This one is a bit counterintuitive. Drink more water throughout the day. Why? Because when you're well hydrated, you'll naturally need to use the restroom more often, which means you'll be getting up and moving more frequently. It's not glamorous, but it works. Hydration also supports circulation, kidney function, joint lubrication, and cognitive clarity, all of which become increasingly important after 50. The bottom line on solutions is this: you don't have to choose between sitting and your health. You just have to break the pattern. Frequently, consistently, intentionally. Before we wrap up, I want to mention one more thing, something that doesn't get nearly enough attention when we talk about sitting: your brain. Research from the University of Southern California found that people who sit for prolonged periods have a thinner medial temporal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for memory and new learning. That's the same area that's often affected early in Alzheimer's disease. More sitting, thinner brain tissue, weaker memory, and this relationship appears to be independent of exercise. Meaning, even people who exercised regularly but sat for long stretches showed this brain thinning. On the flip side, people who move more throughout the day, who break up sitting, who walk, who stay physically active in little ways, show better cognitive function, better mood, better sleep, and a reduced risk of dementia. When we move our bodies, we increase blood flow to the brain. We trigger the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essentially a fertilizer for brain cells. It supports the growth of new neurons and strengthens existing connections. In other words, movement doesn't just keep your heart healthy, it keeps your mind sharp. And for those of us who are 50, 60, 70 plus, that matters enormously. Here's what I want you to take away from everything we've covered today. Sitting too much is a real documented health threat, especially after 50. It affects your heart, your metabolism, your blood sugar, your posture, your brain, and your long-term quality of life. But here's the great news. Your body is remarkably responsive. It wants to heal. It wants to adapt. And the changes you make, even small ones, starting today, can have a meaningful impact on how you feel, how you function, and how many years of vibrant health you have ahead of you. Stand up a little more, move a little more. Break that sitting pattern, 30 minutes at a time. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. You have more control over your health than you may realize. And you deserve to feel strong, clear-headed, and energetic at 50, at 60, at 70 and beyond. If this video gave you something useful today, please hit that subscribe button. We put out new health education content every week, designed specifically for people in this stage of life. And if you know someone who spends too much time sitting, a spouse, a friend, a sibling, share this with them. It could make a real difference. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next one.